Welcome to Lecture 1 from your textbook, The Pharmacy Technician, 5th edition. This lecture discusses Chapter 1 on Pharmacy and Health. Chapter outline. We will be covering different sections from this particular chapter. First, looking at medicine's origin to modern medicine, medicine through the ages, pharmacy today, computer in pharmacy, and then a review will be concluded at the end. The learning objectives from this particular chapter, you should be able to understand the history of the pharmacy from ancient times to modern times. You should also have an overall understanding of the pharmacy's profession, as well as the pharmacy settings and different type of economic environment in which it operates. Also, you should have a general understanding of how computers are used in the pharmacy. Before we begin, each of the chapter begins with a think it through. Here we'll look at a small scenario of why becoming a pharmacy technician can be very helpful. Sarah and 15 of her co-workers were recently laid off from a local tire company where Sarah has worked for 10 years. The company has shifted much of its operation overseas, and it is not likely she will be called back to work. The employees who were laid off were given a severance package as well as payment to train for a new career at a health career school. She has decided to pursue a career in healthcare as a pharmacy technician. As the chapters discuss, you should keep in mind the following questions. 1. What are some of the reasons for pursuing a career in healthcare, and in particular as a pharmacy technician? 2. What are some of the primary environments today for employment as a pharmacy technician? Let's begin our discussion from this chapter looking at the origin of medicine and its progression to modern medicine that we see today. Our knowledge of medicine through the ages goes back thousands of years. Many individuals of ancient people had a belief in the supernatural approaches to medicine. So the supernatural approach to treating illness gradually gave way to a more scientific approach based on observation and experimentation. So that particular scientific approach started around 400 BC. At the beginning, many of our medicines were basically natural medicine. Later on, during modern times, synthetic medicine began to play a prominent role, and this became the drug industry that you see today. And so we will look to medicine throughout the ages and look at the different timelines, different significant events that occurred during that period. Again, our knowledge of medicine goes through the ages, back thousands of years. Around 400 BC, the supernatural approaches to treating illness gave way to more a scientific approach, and this was based on observation and experimentation. You had certain medical myths that existed. For example, Pandora box. Um, this was a myth in Greek mythology where a gift was given to Pandora. When she opened it, it inflicted mankind with disease and pestilence. So the Greeks believed that this is how the many diseases occurred in the world. You should be familiar with the different type of definitions that are found throughout the chapter. From the Greek word panacea, this means a cure-all. Another very important word that you will find is pharmacology. And when we talk about pharmacology, we talk about the study of drugs, their properties, their uses, applications, and effect. Other things that is very important is when we look at nature's medicine. For example, there's the natural aspirin that was found within the Greek area that allowed for the treatment of what we call headaches. So beside looking to the supernatural, many ancient cultures began to look to the natural world for many medical remedies. And some of these remedies are still used today. It must be noted that around 1000 AD, that a particular physician in India named Charaka wrote what is called the Kerala Samhita, which described approximately 500 different types of herbal drugs that seem to cure particular ailments, and they have been used in India many to this day. Western medicine had many sources also on natural sources that still are being used today. Again, we have something called nature's aspirin, and this was discovered by two physicians, and they wrote about it, Hippocrates and Dioscorides, and they found that a white willow tree bark had the opportunity or capability of removing pain. It was found that the active ingredient within this particular willow tree was called salicylic acid, and this became what is aspirin today, still used. Also, it was found a treatment for malaria, one of the world's most deadliest disease, even today, killing hundreds of thousands of individuals. And a drug called quinine was found, and this was found by Spanish priests in the New World that sent it to Europe, and it has been able to control this particular disease, especially within the Western world. So quinine is the name of that particular medicine discovered long ago. And then the first anesthetic was found by the Indians of the Andes, and they found that when they chew coca leaves, that it had a medicinal effect in relieving pain. And cocaine, in essence, became the first anesthetic that was used. So as you can see, humankind, always looked for nature to solve certain problems. Today, we still rely on many of those particular drugs that are derived from natural sources. However, there have been a very robust um, pharmaceutical industry that has developed by creating synthetic drugs. So majority of the drugs that are used now are synthetic. And when you talk about synthetic drugs, they are man-made and not found in nature. And one of the things that really boosts the need for new drugs were the many wars that occurred, such as World War I, World War II, and this and other war-related drugs needs stimulated the U.S. pharmaceutical industry in that it significantly boosts their capacity. Certain definitions that you should be aware of that took off during the middle of the 20th century are antibiotics. So antibiotics is a substance that harms or kills microorganisms like bacteria and fungi. Also, we've been talking about synthetics, that they are the predominant drugs that are used today for the healing. And a synthetic is a combination of simpler chemicals into more complex chemicals, creating a new chemical that is not found in nature. Okay, so here we're talking about modern medicine. So with increasing availability of powerful drugs, there has been a need for regulation. And in the United States, the Drug Regulation Agency is performed by the Food and Drug Administration. So very, very important. And so you will hear about the Food and Drug Administration throughout this particular class. And this is what regulates, in the United States, the majority of the prescription drugs that you will probably interact with as a pharmacy technician. And so drug discovery is something that's very, very complicated. It takes a long time. A new drug takes between 7 to up to 15 years to come to market and costs hundreds of millions of dollars, and can cost, in many cases, depending on the type of therapy, over $1 billion. And so many times, these pharmaceutical industry, biotech companies, what they do, they patent the discovery in order to ensure that it is protected, and they have time to recoup the expenditures to actually design this particular drug. So the discovery of new drugs requires a major investment of time, research, and many of the findings of medicine that have been very helpful have been found in a gene. And so we have concluded this particular section, and this is only the first part of this lecture, and it is time to review. And so you should be familiar with some of the concepts that we talked about in relationship to the definitions such as antibiotic, synthetics, panacea, pharmacology.